Growing up, we'd occasionally heard stories about my grandfather's experience in the Gulag in the early 1940s. And in 2004, I had the privilege of driving with him from Estonia to the Russian far north, to the location where his Gulag camp was located, just outside of Kotlas. En route, we stopped in a city called Vologda, where Eduard would have stopped in the fall of 1941. We also saw a prison that he spent some time in the city that still exists today. From there, we went on to Kotlas, which is a very interesting city. The city, back in the early 30s, I mean, there was no Kotlas. It was a barren land. In the early 1930s, Poles had been deported to the Kotlas area. They were forced in the middle of the winter, and I can't remember which year it was, 30, 31, 32, and told to start building a camp in a city. Most of them slept in makeshift igloos, so to speak. The thousands that were there, I mean, very few survived that first winter. One of the most interesting things that we saw in Kotlas was the mass grave for the regional camp system. This is a mass grave with thousands upon thousands of bodies, young, old, men, women, children, the elderly. They were all brought to this central cemetery, and their bodies were just dumped en masse into these mass graves. I'd never seen anything like it before. It was just a light forest with hundreds, thousands of mounds. And under each mound were apparently 6, 7, 8 bodies. Now, one of the visits that we had while in Kotlas that didn't make it into the documentary we made about the visit was a trip we made to a local school where they had school children had researched the history of the area and its relation to the Gulag. And they'd built out an exhibit in the school, so we visited this, and it was very touching to see these young Russians learning about this dark but a very important part of Russian history. I would imagine that such displays are no longer allowed under the current regime, unfortunately, given that the most recent textbooks in Russia glorify Stalin and his tactics, his methods, his strategies. And I take it that includes the slave labor system of the Gulag, unfortunately.